Hi, good afternoon. My name is Sean McGuire. I'm the Executive Director of the Albany County Land Bank. It's 2:37 on June 10th, 2026. We're calling to order a meeting of the Land Bank's Executive Committee, and we're holding this meeting remotely per New York State Open Meetings Law. The meeting is available on the Land Bank's YouTube channel for listening and viewing. Today on the call participating, we have our chair, Charles Toohey. We do not have a quorum as we don't have other members present, so today's meeting is going to be informational. There'll be no action taken. And so we have the review and approval of minutes. I will note that under item number 1, call to order, we will amend that to that Natisha down as present for that meeting. She was not present. So we'll strike her name and then indicate that a quorum is not established. And review or just the amend the review and approval of financial reports. Just there's a little more detail in there than usual, so I'm just going to update that. And I think that's it. Let me know if anybody, if you have any other comments or changes to make, but we'll hold that till next month. Fine. Item number 3 on the agenda is the review and approval of the financial report. So we'll just do the review today. Like I did last month, I'm going to do an overall sort of a narrative summary, and then I'll get into more detail on line items. With reference to the line items, just listen. I'm not going to try to follow with. Yeah, I'll do the line. I'll give a general overview, then I'll go through the line items. Good. Okay. All right. So the Land Bank's financial position as of May 31st remains sound. Liquidity is strong with over 4.1 million in our bank accounts, providing us adequate coverage for our year-to-date operating expenses and our year-to-date operating deficit specifically. Right now, our deficit is $308,437.94. That's tracking approximately $12,000 better than the same time last year, and it's consistent with our revenue model, where we have property disposition proceeds and grant draws are episodic in nature. The board should be aware of 2 near-term financial events. One is we have pending demolition and abatement contract awards, which will result in some additional capital expenditures not reflected in our profit and loss yet, and then our anticipated LBI capital grant draws, which will cover a significant portion of the deferred revenue liability that we have recognized as revenue as eligible project costs are incurred. So I'll go into the balance sheet as of May 31st. It does reflect a healthy, well-capitalized organization. That's always good to know. Our total assets are $7.3 million. They're primarily supported by unrestricted cash reserves and substantial grant receivable pipelines. We have no long-term debt. Total liabilities of $2.1 million, largely consisting of deferred grant revenue, that is, and accounts payable representing nominal operational obligations. Our equity stands at $5.1 million, with the year-to-date operating deficit reducing our unrestricted net assets from the prior year and balance in a pattern consistent with our historic operations. So here's our key observations: is that if you look to line 7, our liquidity is strong. We have, and our unrestricted savings holds about $4 million. On line 23, our property inventory has a net balance of about $1 million, and that value reflects the lower cost or market adjustments of negative 2.8 million on line 22. Just so you're aware, we have right now an inventory of 169 properties. Out of all the properties we own, we've owned them for an average of 2,600 days, and those that we have available for sale, we've owned for an average of 2,800 days. And I just reported that total book value there about $1 million. I'd like you to break down, buildings and lots. Yep. You have 149, which consists of 49 buildings and 123 lots, or something like that, so that people. Yeah, we have 144 vacant lots, 22 buildings. These are residential. We have 2 that we consider 2 commercial buildings, and we have 1 considered to be a commercial vacant lot. That should be infused into the board so that when the board meets,
that they get the full picture of what our assets are.
Yep, we can, yeah, I'll include that in my report, as part of our dashboards. You know, generally by zoning, out of all those properties, all those lots and buildings. 279 are considered residential, 45 are mixed use, and 1 is agricultural, which is way out in the hill towns. I think that's the lot that's actually zone industrial buffer for the mining operations. Core, yep. 60 of those lots are for sale right now, 17 are sale pending. 6 have some title problems that we continue to work through. 3 are in process with an application. We have one of those one property banked. 60 properties identified for our own projects. That includes the South End home buyer development, that includes the Flip the Block initiative and the scattered sites where we're doing some of the phase rehabs. We have 11 in co-development, so that'll include the Clinton Avenue Phase 3 and the Ontario Street project with Regan, 6 under option, and then 2 recently sold. We just have to update the status so that they don't show up in our inventory. So that's where we are with our property inventory, our grant receivables on line 15. We're still due in 1.9, almost $2 million in receivables, but as the demolitions start happening, we're starting to pick up speed. And we'll see that numbers dwindle as that money comes back into us. And other deferred revenue is 1.9 million at line 56. Again, reflects appropriate restricted fund tracking. Total assets on line 32, $7.3 million. Again, our largest asset component is our bank accounts at line 8 at $4.1 million. Going to the other side to liabilities, I talked about the deferred revenues. Our accounts payable on line 37, it's about $53,000. On line 40 is our credit card balance. It's almost $1,600. On line 52 is our lease liability for the year at $145,000. That corresponds to our office lease right to use asset. So we have an offsetting asset there. On line 50, we have accrued expenses of $4,000. On line 51, we have discharge, legal and recording fees, $5,100. Those are the fees that were collected prior to 2020 for discharging enforcement mortgages and all those transactions that we do after the closing when people have completed their projects that they propose to us. And then sorry.
Balance sheet, looking at my screen, and it's the asset page, lines 1 through 32, okay? And then when I scroll down to look at the liability, there is no liability page. It goes directly to profit and loss comparison, so there's a page missing.
Let me see what's going on there.
All I'm looking at is the balance sheet assets, and it stops at 32. And I'm assuming there's another page that's the liability page, right?
Yeah, there should be a liabilities page. I have a copy of it. I can forward, I can send these back over to you.
I didn't get it. I don't have that page.
Yeah, let me send that back over to you. Another 30 seconds and it's coming your way. Charlie, do you have the pages for profit and loss?
Everything's there except the rest of the balance sheet.
What's in the folders got the page there too. Alright. Well, it's coming your way, Charlie. You want me to wait for you to get that or continue on?
have it in front of me, so you could just
Okay.
repeat the utilities portion.
All right, so we're gonna pick up you from line 33 on.
Yeah,
All right. So I'm gonna go through liabilities. I mentioned before, our total liabilities at line 61 and 60, line 60 and 61. Our total liabilities are 2.1 million. That is deferred revenue at line 56 at 1.9 million. That includes our LBI capital grant at line 55 at 1.8 million. And our LBI operations grant on line 54 at $100,000. Line 37 is our accounts payable. We have 53,000 in accounts payable there with almost a $6,800 credit card balance on line 40. We've got our lease liability on line 52 at 145,000. We have accrued expenses at line 50 of 4,000. And at line 51, our discharge legal and recording fees of $5,100. And that's what I was explaining before, is that prior to 2020, we collected the recording fees for discharging and enforcement mortgage. We don't do that anymore. They send that in when we're ready to discharge it, but we still have some fees from 2020 and prior where we haven't discharged an enforcement mortgage that we're still putting that money on. And then line 57 through 58, the down payment on property and option agreements, we had $9,600 altogether there. Just moving to the rest of the other side of the balance sheet on equity. Line 65, we have total equity of 5.1 million, consisting of unrestricted net assets. Line 63 of 5.4 million, and that's reduced by the net revenue, the operating loss of $300,000 on line 64. But like I said, that's something that we expect early in the year, and then by the end of the year, we have closed that gap up. Any questions on the balance sheet?
well, I know this is just an accounting question, but the total asset page says 7.3. That's
Yes.
Page 1. Page 2, it does say assets and liabilities 7.3. But it has total equity. I guess I'm not reading it right. I would have expected the equity, you have your total liabilities and total assets.
Yeah,
Probably-
no, yeah, our total assets on a balance sheet, our total assets are the same as our total liabilities and equity. So, yeah, so once we subtract all the liabilities out, anything we had left over, is considered our equity.
Reflect on that same page, the total asset, where's the 2 million difference? 65 says 5 point something, and total liabilities and equity are 7.3. 7.3 matches the previous page. But when you read
Right.
it, you go, where's the other $2 million?
It's on line 61.
61. Liabilities, got it, okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's correct, just not reading it properly. Go ahead.
Yeah, when you add 61 and 65, you add total liabilities, total equity, you'll get line 66. All right, then moving over to our profit and loss year to date, for the 5-month period ending May 31st. Again, we had a net operating loss of 341,000 with a total net loss of 308,000 after other revenues included in there. That's again an improvement of about $12,000 over last year. Our revenue. I'm just giving a general overview. I'm gonna paint the picture, then I'll get into the line numbers. Revenue is down year to year, primarily due to lower grant draws, although we're getting caught up on those. Our prior year included LBI phase 1 and phase 2 distributions of 281,000. That we don't have an equivalent this year. That's partly because those demolitions are just starting. Our key observations start at line 62. Our gross profit of negative 2,000 is an improvement from last year of negative $43,000. That's how much we've made after the cost of goods sold and the cost that we have put into the to the properties that we have sold off. Our demolition contractor costs on line 39 our 0 year to date versus 56,000 from the prior term last year. We'll get that caught up this month. The demolition and abatement RFP, has been done, so again, they're moving along. They've gotten one out of 3 down.
Yep.
And the other 2 are coming down. We've got to get a tree removed, and that can get 1 down, and then we have to get the
Saturdays.
Yes,
Saturday.
Trees
Okay.
tomorrow, second one come down.
All right, good. So we'll have 2 down by the board meeting. Payroll costs are up 14%, line 73. That's driven by salary growth and an increase in our health insurance costs. Like insurance costs went up this period, which is why we didn't have an item under new business to hold for the full board. And then May was our most active single month for property sales activity, 199,000 in gross sales per our monthly detail. But the book value deductions resulted in a monthly loss on sales. So while we took in cash, when we calculated what our book values were, we show a loss on the sales there. All right, I'll start with revenue, profit and loss, line 20. Our revenue year to date is $144,000. That's a decrease of $54,000 from the prior year last year. Our grant income on line 6 is currently $50,000. That's one of our draws for the LBI operations on line 5. That's significantly down from last year, but we had other LBI funds coming in. But again, the timing of activities is a little bit different. Our line 12, our net property sale income is $13,800. Our gross sales on line 6 were $330,000. But on line 9, we took a deduction of $316,000 for the loss on book value. Overall, our net margin on the sales is modest, and that's a net loss on sales of $141,000 versus the prior year, which does show actually an improvement of $155,000 in this year. Line 7, our interest income is up 43% from last year, from $38,000 to $55,000. And then line 18 is our total fee income. It's at $13,000, down from $18,000 last year. As fewer applications means fewer application processing fees, asset management fees, and enforcement fees. Going down to our cost of goods sold, or the costs that we're incurring on our inventory, line 61, our total cost of goods sold is $146,000. That's down significantly from last year. It's down almost 40%. That's because of capital construction, rehab, and demolition costs. They're being capitalized in inventory a lot rather than flowing through as a periodic expense. On line 41, our demolition costs year to date are $4,400, which is mostly environmental or professional services, environmental and consulting. On property maintenance costs on line 42, 43 are $82,000. That's up modestly, about 14%, though our snow removal is down significantly compared to last year. Insurance on line 54, our property and liability insurance is almost $35,000. That's down 42, almost 43% from the prior year. And that just reflects changes in our portfolio and just good management on what we have covered and what's coming in and out. So great job by the team on that. Line 62, like I said, our gross profit for the month is negative $2,000, but that's a significant improvement from this time last year, where we had a gross profit of negative $43,500. On our expenditures, our operating and administrative expenses on line 109, our total expenses are $339,000. That's down slightly from last year, which was about $349,000. Payroll is our largest expense on line 73 at $222,000. That's up 14.29% from the prior year, driven by salary increases and growth in health insurance costs. And give you context on that, our health insurance cost on line 69 is up 71%, up to $8,400 per month. Professional services on line 84 was at $68,000, almost $68,500. That's down 22% from last year. Our attorney fees on line 79 were $19,800. And accounting and audit fees on line 78 and 80 together were $38,430. Office rent on line 88 is $19,000, almost $20,000. And on line 87, our office supplies expenses are about $14,000. We have computers that we're replacing right now, so we're seeing that expense up a little bit, but we get a significant discount through HP's nonprofit program, so I'm glad to report, even though we have to replace them, we're replacing them at far less than the retail cost of computers these days, so. And so our net revenue line 110 is a negative 341,000. That's improved from this time last year, which was a negative 392,000. Our other revenue on line 116 is $32,000. And that includes our reimbursement income, our miscellaneous income. And then our year-to-date net revenue on line 118 is negative 308,000. Again, compared to last year, which was negative $320,000. So that's an improvement in our favor of almost 4%. Overall, like I said, liquidity is strong. Our grant receivables and deferred revenue balances are well matched. Our year-to-date operating deficit is consistent with prior years. Expected operational patterns with improvements. Our demolition and abatement expenditures are pending. They'll be updated likely in the next financial statement or the month after, depending on timing. Our payroll costs, they are increasing as a result of health insurance, and we're trying to find options there to address that. Property inventory, as we know, reflects the lower of the cost or market adjustments. And so that's why we show a decrease for our property inventory net values, so that we don't overstate our assets. And our prior period adjustments, they're reflected in the April package. Any questions on the financial report? All right, the only other thing is that on new business, and we'll just take this to the whole board, with the health insurance this year, one of the means that they did to control health insurance cost increases has been to raise the high deductible. And I don't see a resolution in the past. I think it's been our practice, but I'd just like to put it into the resolution is, right now we contribute 50% of the high deductible, into a health savings account. And so we'll just need a modest increase. We're not talking thousands of dollars. I think it's $250 for the year, to offset the higher deductible limits that are coming through with trying to keep the cost of the insurance reasonable. But we did shop around with we did talk to our payroll provider about some options. I think the one that we have to circle back on is the professional employment organization. That comes with some expenses of being part of that, but then it leverages savings as a result. So like right now as a small employer, we're buying on a community rated plan, but under a professional employment organization model, we wouldn't have an experience rating to go by, so that can help keep insurance costs down. But again, like the offset is that we then have to contract with our payroll provider to be our professional employment organization. But there's some questions about if that messes anything up for us because of grants and because of our condition as a public authority. We're a nonprofit, but we're a component unit of Albany County as a public authority. And so that's been sort of the unknown that we haven't been able to get a square answer on. But it's not a big swing. I think next time they can open that back up is in the summer. That we talked to the BTM about.
Yeah, I think it is that runs in the summer.
Yeah, so we're gonna get back together with them and see what that is, and if the proposal to move to a professional employment organization has a net saving, then we can do it. It would certainly, and there's no other downsides of that. I would certainly recommend we go in that direction, but otherwise, we'll keep looking at the insurance options. There was nothing good in the community rated plans. this year to move us into. We've been changing providers, really yielded no, no significant changes. So that's all I've got for the executive committee. And if there's no other questions, I think we can just, we'll stand adjourned, and then the real estate committee will meet at 3:15.
See you then.
See ya, thank you.